Hello, this is Nicole. Welcome to my channel. I am so excited to share this video with you. It's a doll customization project that took me quite some time to complete. Let's meet the girl. This is Lapis. She is a vintage porcelain doll that came into my life a few years ago and has been patiently waiting for her transformation. Her time has come and she's about to become an octopus girl, a lady Kraken. Let's get started. She will be half girl, half octopus, so I'm getting rid of her legs. She won't need any human legs where she's going. She will gain 8 beautiful tentacles instead. I am also removing her old ugly hair. I'm going to give her silky white hair to match the foam of the sea. Of course, she'll need a new face too, so I'm removing the old one using acetone. Yeah, the thing with these dolls is that their lips are painted in some kind of paint that doesn't come off with acetone, and there is also this mark above her eye. I am not sure what it is, maybe some kind of glue? To remove this, I'm using very soft sandpaper attached to my micromotor. Now, I'll let her aside for a while. Let's focus on the octopus part. I am using regular wire to make the armature. Its tentacle measures about 60 cm, though I wasn't super precise with the measurements. That's okay. Octopuses don't have perfectly equal tentacles.
See this tentacle? It's actually shorter than all my other tentacles.
I used 2 pieces of wire for each tentacle to ensure durability, and I taped them together into a nice bouquet and bent them into the shape I wanted. The armature is ready, so I'm moving on to creating the tentacles volume using paper and paper tape. I need a base to attach the doll's upper body to the octopus part. For this, I am using food packaging cardboard to create the pipe structure and build it onto the octopus. Now, I have my tentacles, but their shape is not quite right. They need that characteristic nerve cord to look like tentacles and not like rubber pipes. I am experimenting with rope wrapped in paper tape. I like the result. Let's make 7 more. Much better. Using paper tape again, I created the membrane between the tentacles. I am very satisfied with how it's turning out so far. Let's move on to the skin. I decided to use paper clay for that. This is a big project, and using other types of clay would make it too heavy. So, paper clay it is. I am spreading a thin layer over the entire structure and trying to smooth it out as much as possible. The overall result is not bad, but up close the texture is too rough. Lots of small dents. Let's make another experiment. I am using light stucco to create a creamy paste. Let's see if applying it to the paper clay helps smooth out the surface. It's not exactly what I wanted. It dries very fast and it has a foamy texture, but I'm going all the way hoping that it will work at the end. And it was worth it. After some sanding, I got a much better texture on my tentacles.
Smooth to the touch.
Now that I have my beautiful smooth texture, it's time to destroy it. Octopuses have bumps on the upper part of their bodies, like small rocks under the skin. I am using watered-down paper clay to achieve this effect. It works perfectly. And here we are at the point where I have to make the suckers. I made 1, 2, 370 suckers. And I thought I was done. Nope.
I don't think so.
After they dried, they lost their original shape. Obviously, there was too much water in my paper clay, and they ended up looking rough and ugly. So, back to my micromotor. After some treatment with that, the difference was huge and I was very pleased I could fix them. And then I got very depressed when I realized the amount of work still left to do. But I gathered my courage and started again. After all, I had already finished one. Now I only had 369 left to go. Oh my god. The outcome paid off. I am very excited with how these suckers turned out, although most of them won't even be visible since they are at the bottom of the project. Okay, moving on. Octopuses are magnificent creatures. I learned so much about them while doing this project. They are extremely smart and great artists when it comes to camouflage and colors. I gave a lot of thought to the color for this octopus part of my girl. I was very tempted to go with multiple colors, maybe stripes or dots or something like that. But in the end, I decided to go for something simple. I didn't want to overdo it since this project is already going to be complex enough. It won't be just the doll. I have also made a few accessories to accompany her. A sailing ship, remember she is a Kraken. An old chest where she keeps her 3 hearts, she is an octopus and octopuses have 3 hearts. A steampunk hat because she is a stylish girl. And an ombrelle, which is a combination of a carousel and an umbrella. I have separate videos for each of these accessories and I invite you to watch them too. I made them with extra love and extra care. So, for Lapis, I decided to use a beautiful violet as the main color. I think it will create a nice contrast with her clothes, which will be blue. After finishing the painting, I applied a protective layer of Mod Podge and moved on to the next chapter, which is... It is well known that octopuses can grow back their lost tentacles. Well, not this time. At some point, Lapis lost one of her tentacles. I don't know the story behind it, and I really hope someone come forward and tell us what happened. All I know is that she wasn't able to regrow it. Was it a spell? A magic sword? Any ideas? So in place of her lost tentacle, she now wears a prosthetic one. I wanted to create this artificial tentacle with a steampunk aesthetic. It seems fitting for a majestic creature of the deep sea. I am using warbler in stripes to cover it, based on the structure of old armors. I wanted to look like it could actually move. I am using copper metallic color and weathering it with black and turquoise splotches to make it look old and oxidized. I came across this technique where you use cinnamon to create the rust effect, and of course I had to try it. The outcome is really good. I am definitely adopting this technique for future projects. Once finished, I sealed it with Mod Podge, of course. Last detail. I was thinking, how is this artificial limb attached to the octopus body? If it were a real creature, how would it stay on the body? And then I had this beautiful idea, which is both practical and very feminine. It would be secured with a garter belt. So I created a leather garter to match the steampunk style using leftover leather from another project. First I distressed it with steel wool and stained it with shoe polish to make it look old and weathered. At the end I made a buckle using copper wire. Once the leather band was complete, I attached it to the tentacle, uniting the artificial part with the real one. And as a final touch, I dry brushed the edges with a warm metallic gold color to make them pop. The octopus part is ready. Time to bring the girl back to the stage. The first thing I want to do is get rid of these glassy eyes. I am making new ones out of air dry clay and painting them with acrylic paints and pencils. There is something about doll eyes. Sometimes they can look creepy, even lifeless. I think this happens when the doll has glassy eyes. Not always, but often. That's why I prefer painted eyes. I want them to look more artistic, less realistic. So I'm not scared when they stare at me in the dark. For Lapis's eyes, I chose colors in shades of blue, light green and turquoise to make them look more liquid. Once I was done with the eyes, or so I thought, I moved to the face, starting with the blushing using pastels. I am new to doll customization and I still have a lot to learn, but that's okay, that's the journey. After I completed the face blushing and the lips, or so I thought, I attached the eyes and continued with the makeup. Dolls fascinate me. I was quite grown up when I discovered the art dolls and the doll customization projects. It was a revolution for me. I had always thought that after a certain age it's not acceptable to play with your dolls anymore. But I found out that not only you can still play, but you can take it even further. You can become a storyteller. So I started playing, and I am really enjoying this new world. Let's talk a little history. Especially porcelain dolls have a fascinating history that goes back to the 18th century, and they were first made as luxury items for adults. Porcelain has prized for its fine, smooth texture that resembled human skin. At the beginning, they had the so-called china heads, which were made of glazed porcelain, and 1 century later, German manufacturers led in producing bisque porcelain dolls. Bisque porcelain is unglazed, giving it a more matte and realistic finish compared to glazed china dolls. Then the 20th century came and their popularity faded in favor of dolls made from new materials, like plastic. But they made a big comeback after 80s and are now treasured as antiques, fetching huge prices at auctions. I don't know if it's considered sacrilegious to customize a porcelain doll, but I am trying my best to make her really pretty, so I'll take my chances. For the clothes, I am using some remnants of my old clothes. Sleeves and socks particularly, which are the perfect size to wrap around the doll's body. The fabric at the base of her head was torn, and the head itself was too loose, so I stabilized it using Worbla. For these inner layers, I am using hot glue. I intend to glue these parts on her. I will only show the final part, which will be a jacket. And of course, I want to give her some curves, so she won't look like a child. So I'm using 2 balls of cotton for that. Second layer out of an old pair of tights that has a beautiful blue color. The shade called Lapis. I guess the name comes from Lapis lazuli, this beautiful semi-precious stone. I named her Lapis out of this beautiful color. Every layer and detail from now on will be in shades of blue. After all, she lives in the big blue. Next layer out of a lace ribbon which I glue on her using wood glue. I am using the same ribbon again, combined with a piece of tulle to create her skirt. comes the difficult part. I wanted to sew a jacket. I had no idea on how to do that, so I attended a short online course. I just learned the basics on how to make patterns for doll clothes. But this is already too much for me, for now. So I measured waist, chest, length, shoulders, hands, and designed two simple parts, one for the body and one for the sleeves. After that, I cut my pieces and start sewing them together. I also cut in a curvy shape the front part of the jacket to make it a little more interesting, and then I made the hemming and attached the sleeves. And there it is, my amateur and slightly poorly made jacket, but I'm very proud of it. It's perfect for now. I will get better as I go along this path. After that, I used the same beautiful lace along with some cords and small ribbons to decorate it. I didn't sew all the extra elements. I got a little lazy, so I just glued them using textile glue. Finally, the jacket was done and it didn't turn out so bad. I just didn't like the brand new look, so I treated it with some black and brown pastels to make it look a little more vintage. Final touch. I glued a fragment of a shell at the front part instead of a button, and the jacket was done. Now, the face. She looks cold and expressionless. Let's give it a second try. I wanted to make the face more intense, so I decided to give her bigger pupils and add more color to the whole face. Pupils. I'm not sure for the pronunciation here. I also gave her white and pink freckles, which immediately created cuteness. I darkened the lips, and this time in the end I was satisfied with the face. Yeah, I like her now. It's time for the last creation, the hair. As I said, I have already made a steampunk hat which she'll be wearing, so I won't make a wig. The idea is to create some yarn wefts and glue them directly on her head and inside the hat. I am using acrylic yarn for this. I am wrapping it around the brush and then combing with the brush I use for my cuts. I am losing a lot of material in this process, but I won't throw it away. It's the perfect feeling to use inside my decorative pillows. After a lot of brushing, I ended up with this nice fluffy stuff which I treated with my flat iron and got these beautiful silky white wefts. I used wood glue to keep the hair together. After that, I cut them off the wooden stick and they were ready for use. First, I glued a row of them inside the hat with wood glue. After that, I made marks where the wefts should go on the doll's head and glued the rest of them. This time I used transparent mounting glue. Wood glue is not recommended for porcelain. When everything dried, I also glued the hat. Last satisfying part, the assembly. First of all, I united Lapis with the rest of her body. Now she is an octopus girl. The sail ship, I have already put it in its place off camera, but it's missing its sails. So 1, 2, 3, I glued them on. Last and most challenging accessory to secure is the ombrelle. The carousel/umbrella prop. Glue won't work in this case. The contact points are too small, so I decided to pin it on the tentacle using sewing pins. That worked perfectly. Last thing, I attached the handle I made for the umbrella shaft. I shaped it like a tentacle to match the rest of the project. I gave her her treasure box, and my extreme doll customization project was complete. Let's have a proper look. So, what do you think of my Lapis, the Lady Kraken? Do you have any ideas for her story? I would love to know. Please tell me in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the process of this customization. I invite you to check out the additional videos. You can find the making of the ship, the hat, the treasure box and the umbrelle on my channel. I also hope you liked the video. Hit that like button if you did and consider subscribing to my channel for more fantasy content. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end, and I wish you great crafting adventures. See you next time.